we are just going to do a brief introduction to everybody in the room, and then what would be great actually if you guys could type in who you are and what library you're from, um, and it would be helpful for me to know actually how long you've been, like how far along in the certificate program you are if you are already started. So I'm Joy, and I'm the CE coordinator. So we're going to go around the room. I'm sorry if you can't hear, but I can repeat it back to you. Okay. Okay, so Marilyn from Pope Memorial, and are you just starting out in the program? Or? Mhm. Great. Okay. Could you guys hear that? No.
No.
Okay, Mariah from Tunbridge, and she just started the certificate program. Hmm. The Idaho? Idaho. Hmm. Okay, great. So Caliph Memorial, and I forgot your name. I'm sorry. Bethany, yes. Is it Bethany Beebe? Yeah, okay, yes, okay. So I see these names in email a lot, and I'm slowly putting names with faces. And next, I know you. You are. So this is Wendy Clark from the Department of Libraries, and she's, yeah, I know. This is the irony of our, see. Yeah. Uh-huh. So this is Josh from Haston. He's just starting out. And the last one in the room is, and Tyler from South Royalton, and he is just starting out as well. So it is a little bit ironic with the orientation aspect of this, just that we are actually required to have people do an orientation. So some people have already done quite a bit of classes before they actually do the orientation. But for those of you who are just starting, it is easier. You might be able to go through it a little bit more efficiently if you know what the requirements are right up front. And so that's basically what we're going to go over today is what the requirements are, the timeline, and then also different ways that you can get classes. So obviously you can get credit for anything that we do here at the department, but there are a lot of other ways to get credits as well. And then we'll have time to have questions, answers, and hopefully answers anyway, and discussion if that's helpful. So I just have this description of what we're doing and why we're doing it. It's basically the certificate is designed for people who are working in libraries but don't have previous formal library training. It was originally for directors, and we have sort of opened it up to library staff because with the thinking that the more staff that is well trained, the better it's going to be. So it also sometimes staff move up from a children's position or assistant director into a director position. So if you're already certified, then you have that much more knowledge and things to bring into a new job. Let me just check in how's sound. I'm hearing
It's,
myself echo, but is it okay?
I can hear you.
All right. Okay. That's just what we wanted to hear. So yeah, and we do have one trustee on this call today who's doing it, which I think is fabulous because that's very. You're going to be a better trustee if you understand what your librarians are doing and know more just about how the library runs and everything. So kudos for being that involved as a trustee. Um, so here's the registration link I was telling someone about. So it's actually on our website. It's called an application. There's some confusion over that. Like somebody just asked me today, does this not open to everybody yet? It's not like you apply and we accept some people and we don't. So I haven't changed it yet on the website, but basically it's a registration just so I have a clear idea of how many people are in the program, and then I'm also able to track your credits easier because you only start getting credit for things once you've registered. So if anybody in the room or on the call hasn't registered yet, go to this link and just fill out the form so that anything you're taking from now on counts for credits. And then also on our site is a form to fill out what you've taken, and then if you can just use that to track, but you don't need to send me every time you take a class. If you just track your things, everything you're taking on there, and then there's a timeline, a schedule for sending it to me twice a year, just so that otherwise there's almost 150 people in this program, so if everyone's sending their stuff as they do it, it just kind of is a little bit chaotic. It's okay. So if you have done that, that's fine. I just collect it and in a folder and deal with it later. But that's probably the easiest way for on both ends is just so you're just tracking it like as if you were in school and we were on a semester kind of. I'm trying to do it sort of a schedule like that. So, I'm not going to like throw it away if you send it some other time, but I might not actually process it and update your transcript. So I'm doing that on twice a year. And then the other thing, this isn't as relevant to all of you because you're probably already registered or will, right after this. But again, with people can sign up anytime they want, but I'm only going to go in and look every so often, probably a little bit more often than this, but theoretically, those will be the timelines for when the sort of the new cohort of people will start. But the registration link is available all the time. So, and again, that's probably not as relevant to people here because you've probably already done it. And so this is the breakdown of what your requirements are. It's 150 credits total. They're actually called continuing education units, CEUs. So there's 4 core classes: the collection development, information services, which is reference, cataloging, and then the administration class. Those are all each worth 25 CEUs, which is a holdover from when they were 5 days, because the rest of the courses or workshops are all 1 contact hour equals 1 CEU. So obviously the core ones, they're not really 25 hours of contact hours. They used to be, and it's just makes a nice round number of 100. So for now, any of the core courses get 25 CEUs. So if you do all 4 of them, you fulfill that 100 requirement. So the in-house core courses are, the way we're doing them right now, it's 1 long day and then a half-day follow-up 2 or 3 weeks later. We may continue tweaking that. Last year we tried to do them all in 1 day. That really wasn't enough. They used to do 5 days. That's maybe too much because we can do more online now than we used to be able to do, and that's pretty hard for people to come up here or down here, whatever they're coming from, for 5 full days. So we won't go back to 5 days in person, but we're trying to find that sort of happy medium of where we can offer enough information with supplemental things, workshops, in electives that you'll get a pretty good idea of these core things. So we're going to offer each of these core courses once a year in person, and the schedule, the way it kind of, well, I think the next slide will actually say this, but doing collection development and administration in the fall and the other 2 in the spring. One thing we're improving on from last year is we're going to get those wrapped up before the VLA conference, because some people will finish. That'll be the last thing they have to do, and then they can get certified at the conference. And all the fall classes are already on our website. We don't have dates for the spring ones yet, but if you want to take either collection development or the public library administration course through us, there are already links to register for those. And then electives can be a lot of different things. They really can be almost anything that's related to your library work, to library work in general, or your specific job. If you're not sure if something would count for credit or which category it would be in, please check with me first, because otherwise you might take it and think you're getting credit and you might not. The library technology is it can be somewhat of a range, but it mostly is pretty library specific. So that one tends to be, people have a little bit of a harder time finding enough credits for that, but we'll talk more about some places like online offerings for that as well. So any questions about how it? Mm-hmm.
So I am pretty sure that I registered because I think I filled out the application that's on the site, and I believe I probably did that right in the beginning. Is there any way for me to check on that? Because nobody would take it. So I want to make sure they count.
It doesn't actually like kick back any automatic, like, is there a way for us to make it do that? So the question is, can she check if she's registered or not? Um, my long-term plan is to like always like know about those and write somebody like, yes, I got it. I have just haven't gotten to that yet. Again, because there's so many people are coming in, and um, but that would be maybe we can find a way that like if we could just have an automatic reply that we received your registration, thank you, you're in, or and if not, if you email me out, I can go in there and look, and it's
I just want to make sure.
yeah, no, that totally makes sense, and that's sort of has been in the back of my mind, like because you're not the first person to ask. Like I think I filled it out, but I didn't hear anything back, which is a completely logical expectation to have. And I have just been doing it case by case when somebody asks me. But yeah, ideally there would either be a way to bulk do it a couple of times a year or whatever, or have an automatic response. So we'll work on that. That's. Hmm.
Because I did some of the stuff with Idaho
Hmm.
website, some things like the collection development. I mean, when I went through all the things, at the end it was like a credit per,
Per
in my
hour.
mind, yeah, a credit per hour. So it seemed like I only got like maybe 6 credits for that.
Hmm.
Is that the same
It
thing?
is. So she was asking, and we'll talk more about these. There's an online way to get 3 out of the 4 core classes, and again, those do not work hour to hour. If you complete the Idaho sequence and get your certificate, that's 25 credits
Oh,
in our system. Yeah, because basically we're trying to get a complete core course, and we're considering the Idaho a core course. And for whatever you do that counts as a core course, you're getting 25
okay.
CEUs for that.
I'm further along then.
Yeah. So the other ones that aren't the core ones are hour equals a unit, but those are different. The same way they are in person. Like we don't really have you in here for 25 hours if you do it in person. Um, so again, maybe something to tweak long term, but that's sort of how it's been for, I don't know, 25 years or something. And it had a logical hour to hour um, connection years ago. It doesn't anymore, but we're just keeping it that way out of convenience, really, more than anything else. Other questions about how it breaks down? So it's 150 units total. And then while we're on this, well, actually, this might be on the next slide. I'm going to go back to this just for a minute. I think it might be on a subsequent slide. I'm not sure, but theoretically you have 5 years to complete the 150 electives. There are some people that have been in the program for a long time, and there was a time when it was dormant, so it was very hard for them to, you know, do anything except for sort of online things, and there wasn't necessarily even a reporting system going on right then. So right now the 5 year is sort of a guideline, but for those of you who are just starting out, that is the goal, and um, so it's a little bit gray area for people who started earlier. Like the person that was here and isn't here anymore, when she showed me her stuff, she has way more than 150 units and did the core courses, and so she's like so over being the requirements. So she's certified, and she just didn't realize it. So we are still sort of cleaning up from some that dormant time. But basically, the idea is to do it within 5 years. And it's a lot easier, I think, than it used to be to do it in 5 years because there's a lot more online offerings. So you probably don't even really need that much time. Okay, so here's various ways to earn the continuing education units. Number one, most logical and probably easiest way is to come to any of our workshops. Anything that we do here counts. And again, we'll do the core workshops each once a year. The Idaho Commission for Libraries offers all of the core courses except for the administration. So there's a sequence you can go through. I know Wendy and Bethany, you've already done some of them, if not all of them. You can do it all online at your own pace. There's no charge for it. And then at the end of the sequence, they give you a certificate. And so if you can just scan that and send me a copy of it, then I know that you're done. Which also holds true actually for any of the things that you do online. a certificate if they offer one. If they don't offer a certificate, like a note, an email showing that you've registered, because some of them offer that and some don't. And of course, the honor system. If you say that you did it, it'd be nice to have something in writing. I'm going to trust that you probably really did do it. So, Web Junction is probably the next place that people go. Web Junction has tons of webinars. I send out a list of free webinars once a month at the beginning of each month of what's going on that month, but there's also archived ones. You can get almost any topic for free. But the thing about Web Junction, they're really good for the electives. They're like usually 1 hour, so you get one unit. So you have to do a lot of them, but you can find almost any topic that you would be interested. ALA, American Library Association, and Public Library Association also offer webinars, and then Booklist does as well. Sometimes Booklists tend to be more like collection development about a certain genre, and sometimes they're a little bit more administrative. Conference attendance, that is another area actually where it's not necessarily one contact hour equals one unit, particularly the longer ones. Like, I don't know if anybody's going to the Association of Rural and Small Libraries next week. So that we're going to cap that at 10 hours rather than, like, if you go to a 3-day conference and you're there, 10 hours, and some of the times you're going to workshops and some you're not, rather than having to track every single little, I was in a session for 45 minutes and then I talked to someone for 15 minutes. We're just going to have 10 units for attending a multiple day conference. And then so the Vermont Library Association conference, that one actually will be 1 hour equals a unit because it's a 1-day thing and probably less than 10 hours. So, and then again, if you're ever unsure if you're going to like one of the smaller conferences or the more specific subject matter ones, just let me know ahead of time and we can make sure that we're all on the same page about how many credits you get. So Virginia asked about going to Arsenal and how to provide proof. We're actually going to have a form ready. We've been sort of working on it down to the wire here since the conference is next week. But hopefully we'll have a form ready for where you can just write down what you've gone to and get the presenter to sign off on it. Realistically, there's a possibility with it being Labor Day and the conference starting on Wednesday and me being pretty involved in the prep for it. And so that might not get done by next week. If so, it's just going to be 10. Oh, Josh, they can't see anymore. So Josh is going to work on the, okay, I'm going to keep talking and he's going to work on the slides. So if I don't have that form out to you, we'll just say that Arsenal is 10 units. So it might just be.
Yeah, I think we might be able to reset it out.
Okay. Okay, so yeah, so the other thing is, just if it's not one of the ones that we talked about that it is guaranteed that you get credit for, just run it by me and check ahead of time, like, would this count? And if so, like, sometimes you're done with everything but one category, and if you want to make sure you're hitting that category that you still need, just run it by me first. Okay, Marita, can you guys see the slides now? In Bradford, the Bradford people, can you see it? Okay. Yay, okay. All right, any questions about that so far? Mm-hmm.
This might be clear to other people, but so I think I watched one of the Booklist webinars. Like I clicked through on the website and found one. It's just like a woman talking about like new YA books for an hour. So I just email you and say I watched this.
So in Booklist does give certificates. But
I must have.
okay, so oh, it was a YouTube. Okay, so yes, in that instance, just
Maybe it wasn't Booklist.
okay, yeah. So if sometimes there's an option to get a certificate, if you can, that's really helpful. If not, just tell me about it. I mean, again, like we're adults and like you're trying to get better at your jobs. So I'm assuming you're probably not going to like try to sneak and cheat on your. So there was one person who sent a pretty long description to, like, if you send a sentence or two, like, and this is, she was wearing a green shirt or whatever. I mean, that would make it really obvious. But again, it's the honor system and a certificate. The more I can have in writing, actually, the better, just in case our funders ever come and say, like, how do you know this person got the credit? And I want to be able to say something besides they're really nice people and I don't think they would lie to me. So, although I do feel that way. But okay. Mm-hmm. Idaho. Yeah. Right. So she's asking about like should she collect them the certificates and send them all in at once? That would be helpful. So yeah, I'm gonna there's a timeline on here we'll get to that. I mean, I'm still sort of experimenting with it, and again, like if you send them at another time, I'll just save them in a folder and look at them later. But it is easier for me not to have them come trickling in, one at a time. So yeah, if you can basically do that, save them and send them in, and then I'll just reserve a block of time a couple times a year. That's what I do is fill out those forms. So so is this live? Can I actually go to that on here and show them, or is there a way to show, or should I be able to make this? Wait, what just happened? Sorry, I'm trying to actually show a link on our website because I think it's a useful one.
Not gonna grab that. It's not real. I guess I'll just go there. Okay, hold on. Sorry.
It's under continuing ed and right there. Okay, so can everyone see this page? Okay, they can't. Never mind.
I can share it.
All right. Okay, can people see webinars for continuing education? People that are on the call? Hello?
Oh, we can't see them now. We can
Okay, but can you hear me? They should be able to hear me, right?
I can hear you, and I'm
do
having trouble
yes. Okay, we got
seeing them, but
Sorry.
I'm on your website.
Where'd it go?
Okay, so I'm trying to show you a page of the website that says free online webinars. Are people seeing that?
I think so. I think that was
All right. Okay, so I just wanted to go over some of these. At the very top is the Web Junction ones. So those are actually, will it work to click on that? And will they be able to see in real life? And just to give an example of that. So this is the free training for August, and obviously we're almost done with August, but every month it's this whole like organized page of many things divided up by category. And then again, these are archived as well, so you can, if you don't get to it in the month that it's given, you can still see them later. And so this is an example of the I will send this Web Junction thing out at the beginning of each month, and you can select what is of interest and what you might need to fulfill your requirements, or just because you want to do them. So then, going back to our other page, yes.
Since you're on that page, the technology section, do all those apply to the 10 technology?
Yes. If Web Junction says their technology, I would agree their technology. So yes, good question. So going back to the the additional online CE options is just basically a list that I've been collecting for quite a long time actually, and I'm always open to people adding more things to it, but almost all of these, if not all of them, are free. There's different ones that have different emphasis, like there's one like Bywater Solutions, for example, that would be good technology ones. Overdrive, TechSoup, any of those. Also, the Texas State Online Training they have a thing called Tech Academy. And I'm just emphasizing the technology ones because I do get that question a lot. Like, I can't find, where would I find more technology workshops? But there's also just more general things too. There, whether it's different genres or different age groups working with, or collection development, more administrative things. There's a pretty large range, and again, free. And then they're not. I mean, there are a few, like Library Works is one that charges, but almost all of them are free, and you can do them on your own time. And so, that makes it easier, hopefully, for you to be able to do them. Okay, so now we go back to normal PowerPoint, if there is such a thing as normal PowerPoint.
Okay. Okay, now I'm gonna bring it back to the end. I need to get back to it. I never get it, so everybody just gets it 5 times.
All right. And we're going back to the, all right, so that's where we were, and that is on our website, so if you're ever just looking for things, you can go back and look. Yeah, and this, we already talked about the core courses. The Idaho is your best bet for replacing the core courses if you can't come to one in person. We do have the administration one in person for 2 reasons. Partly we just haven't found a good substitute online, but also Vermont libraries have their own unique administrative characteristics, so that one is one that it seems like it's particularly helpful to be in a class in person and led by our staff, and then also being able to talk to other Vermont librarians. That's a little bit more Vermont specific than technology is, for example, or collection development. So, and again, if you have a question, just run it by me first. So we already talked about some of this, 150 credits, do it within 5 years. So the letters of completion, so I will look through the transcripts, update them, and if you're finished, send you a letter 2 times, I'll do that process twice a year. In May, right before the VLA conference, because that's when we give out certificates. Also at the end of the calendar year in December. You'll get a letter right away if you're finished, and that is actually your official completion letter. The certificate is sort of the pretty, ceremonial version of it. And you'll get one of those either at the VLA conference, or if you don't go to the conference, I'll mail it to you. But it is a nice moment at the VLA conference. You get a lot of support from your colleagues, because a lot of people have been through this and they know that it's hard to get away and put the time into it to do it. So it's a nice time to get the certificate and have a bunch of librarians cheer you on. So, but no requirement at all to attend if you aren't going. So. And the other thing is, occasionally somebody will be like applying for a job or going in and asking for a promotion or a financial, a salary raise. If that ever happens, just let me know. Like if I have a board meeting next month that I would really like to show, I'm pretty sure I'm finished. I would like to not wait until May or December to have this. I can definitely fit that in on a case-by-case I just don't want to have to do 100 of them all spread out throughout the year. But if there's a specific reason that you really want your letter and not to have it only come out on that timeline, that's totally fine. Just let me know. Okay, so we did talk about this already too, but the required courses right now are let's say a day-long sort of overview, and then, for example, the administration one, we're having a day long of general administration things, and the second half will be financial, like budgeting specifics. It'll all be about finances, and we have a guest presenter coming in that's a CPA and a library trustee, and so he's going to help with that because that was one of the things like last year we found that we just kind of brushed over, did such an overview of budget things, and that can be something that is kind of daunting to people. So, and I think the collection development one will be like the day long will be general, and then maybe the second half might be more about like diverse collections or a more specific deep dive into I mean, I haven't totally planned that out, but for example, like diverse collections and maybe youth collections, or just so that you get an overview of collection development, but then a little bit more time on specific things. And I think you said that you already did the reference one, and that one actually has three parts, but the third part is an elective if you want to do it. So there's a round table part of it. So that's the way we are doing those, and then once you do both the long day and the short day, then you get your 25 credits. Mm-hmm.
For the cataloging one in spring, because I had taken the cataloging one online,
Mm-hmm.
but it just gives me a bunch of information, but it doesn't make it, if I'm trying to actually put in a book and it's a page overall system, I still don't know how to do it because it didn't tell me the
Mm-hmm.
process of doing it
Through your specific system.
with the one here in the spring. Will it show me how to do that?
Yeah, so she's asking like about like taking the Idaho class online and not really addressing very specific things in her ILS that she's using. So two suggestions on that. One is just that the Idaho classes are great, but I think an in-person class is better if you can do it, just because you can ask questions, and particularly in that cataloging one, they do a lot of examples, and so you're always welcome to come back. If you came and did the cataloging class, it would be electives. And again, the in-person ones are going to be a little bit more specific to the Vermont libraries. Like, we know a lot of people are using Koha, and then the example, or in the case of Koha, I don't know if you're in Vocal, because they have a lot of cataloging training as well. I mean, so you could probably go to one of their workshops and get that information that you need, because they're really on top of the training and wanting to keep the consortium doing it consistently. And I think the other consortiums are probably doing that as well. I'm just more familiar with that because I was in that one. But again, you will get more sort of hands-on, more specific things if you do the in-person one, and of course the opportunity to ask questions, because those Idaho classes are not in real time. But there have been other people who have done both, and I think it just sort of augments it, and yeah, you did definitely always get credit for it in electives if you've already fulfilled the requirement. And oh yeah, so the 1 credit per contact hour. And then the other thing that we're sort of experimenting with, only a couple of people have actually done this yet, but a few people have, like there was a person who had done some technology instruction at their library, and so we came up with the plan if she like wrote it up and described what she was going to do and had objectives for it, like made it more like sort of an agenda for or a syllabus for a class, and then assessed what she had done, that would count as CE credit, rather than, they don't all necessarily have to be a workshop or something online where you're just kind of absorbing the information. If there are things that you're doing that you think you could shape into more of a course, or like you're developing something where you're teaching somebody else, that's going to be on a case-by-case thing, and you need to have some guidance on it. And again, definitely check that with me beforehand. But that is a possibility, so just keep that in mind. Sort of more of the like sort of practical application. If it won't apply to like if you're just basically doing your daily job and you're cataloging, so it doesn't count if you like, well, I cataloged for 5 hours yesterday, because that's just part of what we do, right? But if it's kind of its own specific thing, there might be a way for that to work. So just run that by me first. So yeah, here's the timeline. So if you can submit everything that you've taken to me by December 15th, I'll just commit to that second half of December, updating transcripts, letting you know if you've finished, and then again at the end of April, which will catch the hopefully the spring Even if the second part of the spring courses haven't happened, if you've done the first part of it, then the assumption is you'll do the second part. So that'll give me a chance to update ones and have them ready for the conference in May for VLA. Does that make sense? That sort of protocol for, okay. And then this is just a list of some of our upcoming things. The one I was thinking of, the roundtable exchange, is that's an elective. So if you've already finished your reference core, that's a good time to sort of get a discussion and get into some of the sort of more conceptual issues around reference. Project Wild training is like outdoor education kind of training. That is something that was offered to us. The implicit bias and creative authority is being offered by Curtis Reed, who's the executive director of the Vermont Partnership for Fairness and Diversity, and he's done a lot of work with educators and colleges and the state police actually in Vermont about dealing with issues of race and equity, and so he's going to come in and do a workshop for librarians on that, specific to that kind of work in libraries, which I think is going to be very interesting because he's he just has a lot of experience in it. He hasn't necessarily turned that lens to libraries before this, but I think it's definitely a need that we have. So that's an excellent opportunity to be with somebody who's really an expert in that kind of work. And the second part of that on the 8th is going to be our staff, Finn Lavoti and me, and then we're going to bring in a librarian who we just worked with yesterday about diversifying her collection. So sort of more of a hands-on kind of, very library specific. A lot about collection development probably in that one. The Red Clover is the Picture Book Award, the Vermont Picture Book Award, and then BPLA is the Basic Public Library Administration class, and that's the one where on the 17th it's an overview, a lot of different topics. The 29th, they're both required. The 29th will be the one that's specific to finance and budget. So in all these cases where they're two-part core courses, both parts are required in order to fulfill the credits.
I actually took the Project Wild training, but I was an after-school coordinator, so 6 months before I was.
Okay.
Does that
No, it doesn't, but if right, yeah. She asked like if she had taken something before, would it count? And I think that it's probably going to be very similar training. The only reason it doesn't is just because we all come into this from different backgrounds, and just you might be, if you took that class now, if that training now, you might be looking at it through a different lens than you were, and also it basically, like, we're trying to train specifically for the Vermont Public Libraries, and so hopefully we all have things that we're bringing from before that will apply to our current job. But yeah, if we focus on like the public library part of it, then that'll kind of clarify that. All right. Oh yeah, and a few more, the collection development core ones, and yeah, they're all listed on our website, and so the details are there, and there's also links on there to register. I know that some people had issues with these two-part courses. I think maybe our system is not processing the second part very well. So if you're not sure if you're registered for both parts of it, just check with me. If you've signed up for it, you probably are, but it seems like I'm not really sure why, but it's giving some people confirmation that they've registered for both parts and other people not, so not sure why. And then this Public Library Director Summit is at the State House. It's for any size library, any level. You can be just starting out, or you can, there'll be veterans there that have been directors for a long time. It'll be a variety of topics. Jason Broughton, the state librarian, will be there, and other staff members from here, and that one would be electives. And just a note that one is at the State House, not here, because it's going to be larger, hopefully larger attendance than can fit in this room, although we did try to do it here last year. And then also on our website there are links to sign up for the regional trustee trainings that Laura Keenan does. She goes around the state and does those. If you attend one of those, it would count for continuing ed credit. I didn't put them on here just because they're specific to the region, but if there's one in your region, I would highly recommend going. And just a plug for that training as well. She, as her schedule allows, does go and do it specifically for individual libraries, and that's just, it's very, very helpful, and everyone who's had her come do that has been thrilled, and it really helps the trustees understand what their roles are and the director understand how they're supposed to work together. So I would recommend either going to one of the regional ones and trying to get your trustees to go with you as well, or if everyone's schedule allows, to ask if she can come do a library specific one. So, and there's a agreement there from Virginia that has worked with her. So, yes. So, I work to the Q&A part. Like, if there's anything that's still unclear about how the certificate program works, or I'm always looking for ideas too about things that I have to do this at work and I'm not sure how to do it. Could we have a workshop on whatever? So, if you have ideas about that, share those now or whenever, really. And if you have any just sort of things you want to discuss amongst yourselves or with me about anything certificate related or CE in general, now's a chance.
I had a quick question.
Mm-hmm.
I am still sort of unclear of how to find out about the, not the webinars, but the in-person classes. Will that be listed on your website? Because I went to the events calendar and I don't see that.
Okay. So the question is, she's clear how to see the webinars, but how does she see our workshops? Josh, can you come help with the, yeah, so it is on our website. What? So the events calendar, Josh, do you know, is there like a events calendar that we're not really using anymore? So there's at the top of the CE page on our website, there's a thing called Browsable CE calendar, and our classes are on that. And then they're also on the continuing education page. We sort of populate that as we have them lined up. So this browsable CE calendar should work. Are they looking at this? Can you all see this calendar right now?
I'm looking for it now, and I'll just
So
continue
if you
looking
look at
when we're not on the phone.
can you see it, the screen? Are we sharing our screen?
I could see your screen before, but I can't see it now. I don't. Oh no,
Okay.
now I can.
Okay.
Now I can. Yes.
So can people see this? The schedule of events, it's a calendar and it has links on it. Like, so
Yes,
if you
I
look
can
at,
see that.
okay, so that's at the very top of the CE page, and that will take you to the place you can register. And then also where it says upcoming workshops, we just list them, and those are live links to take you to the registration page as well.
Okay.
So if you just want to bookmark that page, we update it periodically. I mean, it's not on any like set schedule. Right now, like the core courses are set through the fall, so those won't change, but we will probably add things just sort of as they come up, because things always do seem to come up. So when 1 hour things or a couple hour workshops, like there's one this morning. So that's the page to pay attention to, and we usually at some point put them out on the listserv too. But just if you always want to know where you can look, it will always be on this page.
Thank you.
Yes. Any other questions, comments, suggestions? Anybody? Okay, so seems like we are pretty much finished, unless anybody has anything else. I want to add that you can always, if you think of questions later or as you're doing something, you can always get in touch with me. I think my last slide probably has my email on it, or yeah, so I'm always email or call, and I will get back to you. And yeah, yes.
Just to be clear, the core courses you have to be there in person, you have to attend, and the rest will be done online. Is that correct?
Yes, and 3 of the 4 core courses actually can be done online through the Idaho Commission. Everything but the administration course. The administration course is the only thing that's required. Like, there's no other way to do it. We have not tried doing like what we're doing right now with the whole day-long course with a lot of sort of more involved content. And I think that probably we wouldn't do that just because this is, I mean, even just, with 17 slides of pretty straightforward information, my guess would be that it's more helpful to be in this room than to be on the phone end of this. And I just wouldn't want there to be that inequity in like the core courses. And and also just like dealing with, this part of it at the same time we're trying to put a lot of content out. We do like a semester class in one day. So, yeah, so the core ones, either the Idaho or in person. And well, they're also the University of Wisconsin. If you don't mind paying, like the University of Wisconsin has like these $450 courses, which look great. They're like 6 weeks long. But again, that's if you have the budget to pay for it and desire to pay for it. So there's some people that have taken graduate level courses. Obviously, those would work as well. Tyler, did you have a question or comment?
5 years is the projected time in which to acquire the certification.
You have to do it within 5 years. Yeah, I don't think it would really take. You could do it. It's a very long. That's a pretty long window. Yeah, it won't really take. I mean, yes, but you have 5 years if you need it. And I think that also probably goes back to when they had 5-day classes that people would come, and so there's only so often that people can get away to do that. But yeah, as of now, you do have 5 years to do it, but it isn't so daunting that it would probably take you. Yes, yes.
Because I just started probably, I was hired in October and then started classes in January. And I've got like 2.5 of them I got almost done, and a lot of webinars and different things. So I'm almost, I want to say close to maybe 2/3 done.
Hmm.
It's been only, 8 months.
Yeah, and like.
Idaho is CEU, but the collection development of the services cataloging public library administration is not Idaho.
Wait, what was the question?
So the Idaho classes
Mhm.
apply towards electives or
Oh.
the
No, so the no, so, well, towards the 100. Okay, so if we
and so the Idaho is falls within the category
of core,
of administration info services catalog.
almost. Okay, so I'm glad. I'm glad. So we're just clarifying. The questions here are clarifying what the Idaho courses do. So, well, no, it is except for the administration course. So the Idaho courses, you could. Yeah, so if you look at, actually, can I just normally go online by just doing this? Like I could, so the way that the Idaho courses are laid out, they're divided into these. I think they call like yeah, and they might have slightly different titles. Like technical services is the one for cataloging. If you can look for Idaho Commission for Libraries, and it'll be a link on.
That's scheduled that is addressing primarily cataloging, however.
Yes, so we offer all the. Yes, whenever you do anything that counts as a core course. Yes, yes, yes. So you can replace our in-person core courses with the Idaho courses, except for administration because they don't offer it. So yeah, if you look at collection development, if you do all 4 of those, then you get a certificate, and that counts for your core collection.
opposed to attending
Yes, you wouldn't have to attend ours. You could if you wanted, and if you did, that would be electives.
So you need to take the full
Yes, you have to take the whole sequence. So each one of them, each one of these is a sequence. Technical services is cataloging, is what we call cataloging. Public services is what we call reference. But you can sort of tell that because within the language of what the. But yeah, in order to get the credit, you have to do all four, and you won't get a certificate until you do all four, actually.
And I keep hearing about getting the certificate, but you don't actually guarantee it.
Okay, so there's the certificate that like this whole thing is for the certificate of. So what I mean in this case though is they will give you a certificate at the end of taking this sequence that says you have completed this sequence, the technical services sequence by the Idaho Commission for Libraries. You send me a scan of that, and I mark off that she's done her cataloging requirement.
So as we're going through the process and they just finished the reference,
Hmm.
you don't actually get a certificate. They just kind of
So for ours, you can get a certificate if you want them. Actually, if you need it for your employer or something, you don't. For our purposes, our in-house ones, I have the sign-in sheet, and I.
want to make sure the credit's got.
Right, so it's very easy for me to tell who got the credits in-house because I have the sign-in sheets, and I can if somebody forgot to sign up, even the people are down the hall, I can ask, wasn't she here at this? And they say yes. So yeah, you don't need to. But we will make one for you if like your employer wants. Did you really go to? Can you show me why you weren't here last Wednesday? Yes, I was at. But we don't just by default do them. I don't know because of waste of paper. Okay, yeah, sometimes people do, but we're happy to make one if you want one or need one. But the in-house ones, like yeah, we can tell if you were here or not. It's more of the like these ones in particular and any other like online ones. It shows you did it, yeah. So. And sometimes there will be ones that just they don't, or there was one recently, I can't remember who offered it, but if you paid $25, you could get a certificate. Like you could get, but she had done all the same work and then just was like, do I really have to pay $25? And there were other ways to show that she had attended. So no, I mean our idea is to offer this to people who we know are not making very much money that without having to pay for it. So we're not going to require anyone to pay extra just to get that. Something in writing. All right. Any other questions, comments? Oh,
How do we get a copy of this PowerPoint?
Oh, so the PowerPoint will be up on our website, and it will be. That's a true statement, isn't it?
Yeah.
Josh, yes. Maybe take a couple days or something, but it will be there, and you can look at it anytime. Anything else? Any questions anywhere? Anybody? Okay, and then in terms of continuing ed units and contact hours, I knew that this probably wouldn't really be 2 hours, but I didn't want us to run out of time. So we're not really here 2 hours, but you will get 2 units of credit. So just think of it as class getting out early. Okay. Anybody period the end? Okay. Thanks to everybody who joined online, and you will also get 2 units of credit for this. And again, get in touch anytime with questions. Thank you.